People, when I switched over, my defense friends are saying, "Oh, you're joining the dark side." But I
It's the
really,
light side.
yeah, exactly. But I think on both sides, there's good and bad, right? There's good clients, bad clients, good lawyers, bad.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Legal Solve Podcast. We're here today with our guest, Alan Mooshekh, who has experience in tons of trials and recently started his firm in the last year. We're so excited to get to know Alan Mooshekh, some of the trials that he's done, and what's coming up into his firm. Well, Alan, it's great to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Awesome. Well, please tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, like your background, how you got into law, how you got started.
So really, I think it all started when I was in high school. My dad owned a body shop,
Mm,
so I'd work for my dad, and he'd have me writing estimates, and I was, negotiating with these insurance companies, doing supplements. And then I moved to Arizona after high school, and I went to undergrad. I got a degree in business, and I graduated. And honestly, I didn't know what to do with a bachelor's degree. And so I started applying. I was like, I have experience doing estimates for body shops. Maybe I can go work for an insurance company. So I started applying really to be an estimator to do like property damage estimates. And the only thing that was available was positions as a bodily injury adjuster. And I honestly, I didn't even know what that was. But I, took the job. I needed the job. This was like 2008 when the economy just basically tanked. And I went to work with a decent sized insurance company in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I worked with them for about 2 years. And then I switched to another insurance company, a much bigger insurance company. And I worked with them for about 2 years. And with the second company, I was doing more litigation cases, and I started learning more about, litigation and discovery and valuing cases.
Well, the interesting part is most lawyers, after they graduate law school, they go straight into plaintiff because
Yeah.
that's where the money's at. But
hmm
you decided to go into defense.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how it happened. So yeah, and then I did that. I started loving it and realizing, how I thought honestly I was doing a better job than some of the lawyers were doing valuing these cases. And so I went to law school, and the first job I got out of law school was for a pretty, medium, I guess, no, mid to large size defense firm.
Yeah.
And I worked there for almost 10 years. And
Wow.
so, yeah.
Wow. How do you feel like, the skills of working defense, managing defense attorneys has translated to you working now plaintiff and helping people who have been involved in a car accident or any kind of personal injury claim?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very loaded question. But I think it has two parts. I think the first part is the business side of it. I think managing an office was just scratching the surface of learning how a business operates. Because we manage the office, we set up the office, and we manage employees, but I wasn't involved in payroll, HR, accounting, marketing. Like, we did marketing, but it was very different than the plaintiff side marketing.
Yeah.
And there are different types of cases too. You're dealing with insurance companies. You're dealing with insureds that are usually they don't really care much about their case. They're just getting defended, and they don't. A lot of times they don't care what the outcome is because they know the insurance company is going to pay. On the plaintiff side, it's much more different. But it really helped me see how the defense is operating.
Mm.
So on the business side, I'm learning a lot more. It helped manage that office because um, now I know kind of how businesses operate a little bit. So it helped a little bit. It was still completely new to me. But on the from the legal side of it, you're learning how these insurance companies are defending cases, valuing their cases, where to add value, things like that.
And whenever you're managing cases that you have now, how does the defense mindset support building cases, managing cases, and getting higher settlements for your clients?
Um, you know, a lot of the times, what I do, I don't know if a lot of other lawyers do this, is you realize what's going on in the background with insurance, and you're looking at the policies, seeing what the policies cover, seeing what the policies don't cover. And what I like to do really to maximize the compensation, what our settlements are, is to create coverage problems.
Hmm.
And so a lot of lawyers don't know it. They look for policies and they're like, okay, it's $1 million policy. They should pay us $1 million. But, these insurance companies, they don't want to pay it.
Yeah.
They're trying to look for reasons not to pay it. So what I do in my pleadings, a lot of times I actually create coverage problems. And so it basically creates a situation where there may be a conflict between the insured and the insurer, and it puts pressure on the insurance companies and the defense lawyers to settle these cases.
No, I mean that's awesome. I mean most firms who don't have that experience working defense just can't do that, especially after 10 years. I mean, the tricks are probably amazing.
Yeah.
Or the support for cases. Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't call them tricks.
Yeah, I want to call, sub that out.
Yeah,
Not tricks.
strategies.
The strategies you learn
Yeah.
working defense for 10 years and being able to apply them to your clients is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I would be careful because you don't want to be in a situation where you create coverage problems and then it eliminates coverage, and then it'd be committing malpractice. So if there's any lawyers out there that are listening and want to come up with ideas about how to set up a case where you're creating a coverage problem, I'd be happy to discuss ideas, bounce ideas back and forth.
Yeah, so you're open to people messaging you, getting ideas and stuff from you?
Oh, for sure. I love talking about the law. So, anytime anybody wants to contact me, bounce some ideas, if they're dealing with coverage issues, how to address them, how to, if there's a coverage lawyer that's representing the carrier,
You're open to
I
it.
love that stuff.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, having that experience with defense firms and now being able to start your own firm, congratulations. And you started your firm about a year ago.
Uh-huh.
And you already have your license in a few different states. Your firm practices in a few different states, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What pushed that? What inspired that? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so really started on the defense side. So when I first started at the defense firm, I took multiple bar exams. So I did Arizona. In Arizona, you could
While you were a defense attorney?
correct. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I took the Arizona exam first, and with Arizona, you can transfer to a bunch of states that call it the UBE.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I took the Nevada bar exam, and then I took the California bar exam. And the reason why we did that is because
So you knew about the UBE a long time ago.
oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like a new training topic.
Uh-huh.
How did you hear about the UBE?
Well, in Arizona is a UBE.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you just luckily took it there, and then you got your UBE.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
And I was fortunate. I mean, the firm that I worked at is a great firm. I mean, I think it's probably you hear a lot of lousy things about insurance defense firms, and I think the owners of our firm and the attorneys there are all very good, honest people. They're good defense lawyers. I'm sure there's bad eggs, but for the most part, it's a good place to work. And they were very supportive. And so when I wanted to take other bar exams, they supported it. And I think it was mutually beneficial because when we had like a shortage of lawyers in Colorado, they would fly me out to Colorado and say, "Hey, let's help with these files," or I'd go to Nevada and help some Nevada cases, and so I was constantly flying different places, helping out different attorneys in different offices, and so I already had all those licenses before I even left.
Yeah.
And so one thing that I realized when I started my new firm is that litigating these trucking cases, oftentimes the defendants are not just in California. They're not just in, Arizona. They're usually in multiple states all at once. And so, I wanted to start a practice that was a regional firm where, if there's an accident in the Southwest and there's, the drivers from New Mexico and the owners in California and the shipper is in Arizona, we can, if I need to file multiple lawsuits, I could do it very easily.
Nice. And now with your firm, what have been some of what have you learned newly, having started your firm in the last year, that you didn't think you would have learned initially? Or what are some new things that you're realizing now that you've started your own firm?
Really, I think the most challenging thing for me is the business part of it.
Yeah.
It's because it's a huge adjustment. Like I mentioned, I never had to worry about payroll. I never had to worry about like advertising. Our marketing was very different. It was very targeted to insurance companies, so it wasn't like I didn't have to worry about social media. And so, that really for me is kind of, I had to adapt to it and grow. And that's really one of the main things I noticed.
Yeah. And I'm sure you're working on building your referral network.
Yeah.
And so, trial lawyers who have experience with trials, people will be lucky to give you guys cases.
Mm-hmm.
How has that been building your referral network?
Honestly, almost all of the cases, thank God, is from referrals.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, I had a decent amount of cases to keep me busy. And almost all of them are from other attorneys and usually from other states. So it'll be some of my connections in Arizona. They'll say, "Hey, we have this case in California. Can you file on it? The statute's coming up." And then,
so how many cases have you seen overall? How many cases do you think you've been on your docket?
Like for the last 10 years?
For the last 10 years.
Oh my God. Well,
hundreds, thousands.
Before I left the defense firm that I was at, we had about 80 to 100 cases at any given time. And it was a whole team. So it was me and 3 associates. But those cases settle, or resolve within a year or two. So at least over 1,000, maybe
Wow.
more. Yeah, over the last 10 years.
And if you had to pick a case that was maybe, that stuck out to you the most, maybe because of the client relationship or anything, what's one case that you've had that was just stuck with you?
On the plaintiff side or defense?
You pick.
You know, I
Maybe even both.
I don't want to get too detailed about the specifics,
Yeah.
but on the defense side, the good thing about being a plaintiff's lawyer is you choose your clients.
Mm.
If somebody walks in the door and they tell you about their case and you don't like them or just something's off, you could say, this case is not for me.
Yeah.
The defense side, the better you get doing defense work, the worse your cases get, the worse your clients get. And you'll just end up with some of these clients where you don't even want to represent them, but you have to,
Wow.
And so I
So
think
defense firms don't reject cases.
defense firms do not reject. Well, yeah, they don't reject
You
cases.
can't.
No, no. Especially if it's a horrific case, that means that's a good case from a business side because
Yeah.
you're defending it. It's gonna be tough. And so one thing that particularly stood out is I did a deposition with a guy, and I'm sitting there defending him, and the guy's an alcoholic,
Oh no.
and so he had to actually drink for his deposition in order to even do his deposition. And so I'm just sitting
He
here,
would drink for his deposition to do his deposition.
yeah, and because
Wow.
he couldn't operate, and so I'm sitting here thinking, what am I doing right now? I'm defending this guy, and he can't even not drink before his deposition. So that one, I immediately reported back to the carrier and said, we need to settle this case. This case is not something you want to put in front of a jury, because the last thing you want to do is
Oh yeah, there's no shot.
you force this guy into a trial, and then he has to show up drunk to the trial. And so within a week or two, we were done with that case. And honestly, I really hated that case, and that one kind of stood out to me.
Was that a point of the turning point where you said it's time to go plaintiff?
It was one of them. I think it was a culmination of a lot of points, but it was one of them.
Nice.
And you don't deal with they always say there's like a dark side. People, when I switched over, my defense friends are saying, "Oh, you're joining the dark side," but I
It's the
really
light side.
yeah, exactly. But I think on both sides, there's good and bad, right? There's good clients, bad clients, good lawyers, bad lawyers. I've already experienced a lot of horrible defense lawyers, and I've in the last 10 years, there's a lot of bad plaintiff lawyers too. But both sides, there's a lot, and it's really on the plaintiff side you get to choose. That's the thing. On the
Yeah.
defense, you don't.
Plaintiff side. What's worked? What's not working? What are some good cases you've had that just have stuck out to you in the
Yeah.
last year?
I think what's working for me is what I'm noticing, because when I was on the defense, 100% of our practice was litigation, so I'm not
Yeah.
used to doing anything pre-lit. But doing plaintiff side, you do a lot of pre-lit negotiations, and so what I'm noticing, I send a demand pre-litigation, and you're not even getting a response from the insurance company. And so what I'm doing more often now is if I see it's a carrier that really wants to settle the case, I'll settle pre-litigation, but I don't push it. I mean, almost all of my cases I'm filing on very early on,
Mm.
and I'm finding that
And why is that? Is that for the client's benefit? Why do we push litigation?
you learn a lot more, about the case, good or bad, and number two, you're finding a lot of insurance that you may not have known about.
So to break that down. So for instance, if you have a $15,000 policy
Hmm.
and your client has $30,000 medical,
Hmm.
most people just pop policy, call it a day.
Yeah.
What is your take on that?
Well, the thing is popping is not as easy as people think. I
Mm.
mean, you send a demand, they don't pay it, and then if you want to actually pop the policy, it's a separate subsequent lawsuit that a lot of lawyers may not be willing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side, if you file and you find, the what the detailed facts of the case are, you could find out, this guy was actually on the job at the time.
Yeah.
There isn't a $15,000 policy, there's $1 million policy. Or there's an excess umbrella policy that they just didn't want to disclose early on. Or, a lot of different facts come out, and it's usually 9 times out of 10 is not good for the defense.
Have you found cases like that where it was a 15,000 or whatever policy, and then you found there's like a hidden gem policy?
I have, for sure. So yeah, recently in a premise liability case, we basically sued everybody.
A slip and fall, or what kind of premise case?
Yeah, it was a
Slip and
slip and
fall?
fall. Yeah, and that one we sued everybody. We sued the property management company, we sued the owner of the building, we sued the tenant, and so a lot of times you don't know who these people are
Yeah.
until you file the lawsuit. And the thing is when you file the lawsuit, you start realizing what type of contractual relationship these parties had with each other.
Mm.
And then so like a tenant, for example, he may have an obligation to indemnify the owner for anything, for the lawsuit, for attorney's fees, everything.
Wow.
So when you sue the owner, now there's a conflict between the tenant and the owner pursuant to that contract. And so these are things that you wouldn't have known if you just sent a demand and tried to settle with the tenant.
So when we talk about building cases, I mean, recently you have a $500,000 settlement that you're
Hmm.
working on. Uh, Tell us about that. What's going on? What happened?
So that one, that's actually another perfect example of why I should file. That one, it was a denied liability case. My client was a pedestrian in a parking
Well,
lot.
make it a claim. Like if you're a new lawyer, make sure you file this is why.
Yeah,
Because I have a lot of friends in law school, or just graduate from law school, and I mean, just like they tell me they settle cases when they want to go on vacation, and they're
yeah,
not popping. They're just getting 15 grand and going on a trip.
yeah. So I mean, this is a case where I mean, this one's one that we had to file on.
Yeah.
And so it was a denied liability case, and maybe they would have offered something, but it wouldn't have been worth it for my client. I think they want to take a pretty aggressive position on it.
Nice.
And anyway, so we filed, and they denied liability. They denied that the accident even happened. They went so far to even allege that my client was committing fraud. And I had full belief in my client. I stood behind them. We hired the experts. We took the deposition of every single one of their treating doctor, and we prepped this case for trial.
Wow.
Yeah. And so this was actually last November the trial started, and it was a 30-day trial that was going to go into Christmas basically.
What was the defense offering?
In the well, pre-lit nothing.
Zero.
Yeah, zero. And
Wow.
then I would say I think a month before trial they finally took it to 300, which we were getting there, but we weren't there yet. And then we were ready to go to trial. It was just the number that we didn't want, we weren't willing to take, and my client wasn't willing to take. And I always say it's the client's money, and I give them all of the facts, let them make an informed decision. And the decision was to go to trial. And so we did. We got ready. We showed up to trial, and um, we were basically ready. Like what you're saying about vacations, this trial would have gone into Christmas, and I canceled all my plans. We're ready to go. And then finally, there was some negotiations during trial, right before we called the jury, and we ended up settling for 529,000. Yeah.
So from zero, instead of dropping the case, you push it to trial, which is risky. You probably invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into this
Hmm.
case. Then they offered you 300,000. Client said no, it's worth way more. You trust the client, you build the
Yeah.
client.
Yeah.
Push it more from zero to $500,000 of basically that's crazy.
Yeah. It was a really good result. I was happy. The clients were happy. And to add insult to the injury, we actually got some sanctions awarded against the defense lawyer too for some discovery abuse that he did. And so it was not a lot. I think it was like $1,200, but
Yeah.
it was just an even 530 that we got the client on that
And
one.
how is it now going up against defense attorneys that I mean you once were on the defense side? How
Hmm.
is it now?
I have a different type of respect for that profession,
Yeah.
and I've noticed that there's very good defense lawyers, they're professional, and then there's really lousy defense lawyers that take
Mm,
things personal. And as a defense lawyer, the objective should always try to be the most reasonable person and an objective person. You shouldn't take the cases personal at all.
yeah.
I think on the plaintiff side, you do end up taking things personal because you really empathize with your client. But on the defense side, it really shouldn't be like that. It should be reasonable. It should be objective. And you see a lot of lawyers that are not like that. They're kind of sleazy.
With your clients, you mentioned multiple times that your clients are your only boss.
Yeah,
What is your relationship with the clients?
I really treat them like family. So I really care about the outcome of their case.
And they usually have your cell phone.
They have my cell phone, yeah, and so they have direct access to me. We're communicating. I keep them very informed of the entire process. Maybe a little too informed sometimes. I get them a little worried. But no, I have a very good relationship with my clients. I genuinely care about all of my clients. I care about the outcome of their case. Um, you know, I think it's very important because now every profession, not just lawyers, is customer service,
Yeah.
and so that's one of my priorities.
Amazing. And then when it comes to kind of building your practice, what are you currently doing to build a practice? I know you're definitely using social media,
Hmm.
building your social media presence. How's all that going? What's the goal there? Is it And usually there's two fronts to building your social presence. One is, I mean, of course, you have a huge litigation background,
Mm-hmm.
which you're probably in the top. I mean, you've won awards 2023, 2024 for top 50 lawyers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is amazing. And so anyone wants to refer you cases. So on the litigation side and building social media, one is getting more litigation referrals into your firm,
Yeah.
and two is also educating the client base on what options are out there.
Mm-hmm.
Not all lawyers are the same. Not all lawyers work 10 years for defense, manage defense attorneys, and now start their own litigation law firm.
Yeah.
And so what is your goal and mission to share on social media and as you reach out to more people?
Yeah. So I think my main goal is on social media is to share information, because a lot of times people walk up to me and say, "Oh, I didn't even know that. That's interesting that you brought that up." And for me, it was such a very basic, obvious thing, but for the layperson, they don't even know that information.
Yeah.
And that's one aspect of it. And another aspect of it is just to get out there and just to see how I talk, see how I speak, have people connect with me, digitally and hopefully in person more. And I think a lot of times is when they're seeing that FaceTime on social media all the time, frequently,
Yeah.
I'm the first person that gets in their mind, assuming that they like what they see. But just getting that FaceTime out there.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many times that I'm just scrolling through Instagram and I just see this random person,
Hmm.
and now they're on my mind maybe twice that day.
Yeah.
And so it's important to do that. Whenever you chose to go into law, do you have a lot of friends in law? Do you know a lot of people going into law? What's your experience with other people trying to get into the space?
You really have to be passionate about it. So a lot of my friends, I went to school in Arizona, so a lot of my friends that I went to law school with are in Arizona.
Yeah.
And but you really have to be passionate about it, because especially in litigation, because it could be so stressful. So if you're not, enjoying what you're doing and getting satisfaction from it, it could be a very daunting job. It's like I don't know what the statistics are now, but I know like the suicide rate is really high up for lawyers.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the percentage is, but I know you could be in a position where you're not happy in your workplace. And so if it's something that you want to get into, I really recommend that choose an area of law that you enjoy, and it's rewarding.
Yeah. And for new lawyers who are starting out their practice, what are the avenues that you're recommending? I mean, like, how is it working with staff in the office? How is it working with virtual staff? How is it working with, building your social media presence? Were you uncomfortable with any of these things when you first started?
Oh yeah, for sure. With staff, I was used to it because we have staff at the defense firm, and I'm always really big, and I
Well,
know
there's good staff and bad, and staff that need support.
exactly, yeah. So I'm just so used to having somebody there in front of me, and so I had to kind of adapt to the idea of having virtual staff, and that's still something that I'm getting used to. But that is for sure one of them. Yeah.
Whenever we talked about what hobbies and stuff you have, it's like you just love law. You love
Yeah.
personal injury. You love all these different things. I'm very similar. I mean, we talk about cost of client acquisition and law and different places to go and new laws that are changing. What do you see changing in personal injury? I know you're licensed in a lot of states. Let's talk about California.
Hmm.
They're increasing the insurance cap soon,
Hmm.
right? Where do you see personal injury going in California and other states?
You mean like the business side of it or the legal side of it?
Business side.
I think the business side, you're going to see a lot more automation. I know everybody is talking about AI now, and I don't really know a lot about it right now, but I've seen a little bit of it. And from what I've seen, I don't think it's going to ever replace lawyers, just especially good lawyers that are analyzing the law. But it's going to make things easier for lawyers.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be a lot more automation. That's for sure one area that I see. And I think it's a good thing. I think we should embrace it for sure.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I don't think it'll ever replace lawyers, but definitely give lawyers to a whole new access of data analysis, case analysis. I know we're working on a few projects internally where we are feeding an AI software like close to millions of data points on medical records and case summaries and case notes and cases.
Hmm.
And it basically has a memory and within seconds can refer back to hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of cases or medical treatments.
Yeah.
And so a lawyer being able to go in there, tap into that, search for something, search for potential TBI cases with this
Hmm.
kind of accident, allows them to make amazing decisions.
For sure, yeah. And one thing that I do, and this might be like a good idea, maybe I should patent it, is in my demands, a lot of times if I'll do jury verdict searches.
Hmm.
And so I'll try to find a case, hopefully in the same county that has the same injuries, and I'll just put in this in my analysis, and I'll say, hey, in LA County, this person suffered this, mild traumatic brain injury, and this was the verdict,
Yeah.
or this, this fracture, this type of injury, and I'll include that part as part of the demand because I knew from the defense side when you're evaluating demands, defense lawyers usually report to carriers like that. And so, in terms of AI, if there was a software that did that, that just compiled all these jury
Records.
verdicts and said put this in your demand, that could be something that'd be useful and save time.
Wow. Jury verdicts. Haven't thought of that one.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it takes me about an hour or two, but if you can automate all that, that's an hour or two that I would have saved. Not doing that.
And it's all public. The jury
You need
verdicts.
access to like Lexis and
Less
Westlaw,
things.
and there's other reporters out there too. But it's definitely a resource for
Wow.
sure.
Nice. That's definitely a good thing for new lawyers to
Yeah,
look into and do.
it's for bigger cases for sure. If you have, objective injuries, orthopedic injuries, or brain injuries, I think it's for sure you should include that in the demand.
Nice. Um, are you going to any conferences or stuff coming up? Do you go to conferences?
I'm not. I haven't been allowed to for the last 10 years. So
Oh, because you're defense.
yeah. So I've been doing a lot of defense work. But one thing that I do like is that the plaintiff's bar is so much friendlier than the defense bar. I'll
Yeah.
tell you that right off the bat. There's a lot of great defense organizations, don't get me wrong, but the plaintiff's bar is way more organized. They're a lot more open to sharing information. And so, my project for 2024 is basically get involved with all of the
Bar associations.
organizations. Yeah, exactly. And obviously in LA there's CALA, and in Arizona there's AAJ, and so I'm going to get more involved in these organizations, get more connected with the plaintiffs bar because it's such a better, you know.
System
Oh,
organization.
for sure, yeah,
Yeah. And so first year out, but you're not new to the game. I mean, you're probably one of the most senior attorneys that we've met. Um, what is the vision? What is the goal in the next 5 years? Is it to be like some of the household names?
I really just want to be my own thing. I know there's a lot of firms where all they do is litigation, or there's other firms that all they do is pre-lit and just a mill, and they're just turning and burning cases. I want to basically develop into my own firm where we're doing a little, we're doing pre-lit, we're taking clients, we're servicing clients, we're giving that customer service, but also we're litigating cases and we're
Yeah.
doing everything in-house. And so I want to have that growth, but kind of grow into my own thing. I really don't want to look at some guy and say, oh yeah, I want to be just like him. So really that's it, just to kind of grow and see where this develops.
Yeah. I mean, the cool thing is you've been there, you've done that, you've
Hmm.
you've done the litigation defense side, so you can pave your own path. It's not like you have to follow someone because you've done it all. You
Yeah,
know
exactly.
exactly where you want to go, what you want to do.
Yeah. And so, there are some lawyers out there that I really admire.
Of course.
Yeah. And so, like, when I see their, I read all the books, like all the trial guides, and I even did it when I was on the defense side because it helps you improve your, defense skills. But you learn a lot from
Yeah.
other lawyers out there. And
Any favorites out there?
I don't want to put anybody, give anybody a plug, but
Well,
there
let's
are
talk.
there are lawyers that for sure impressed me.
So when firms want to refer cases out, what are some values that you have why firms should refer you cases?
I every case that I have, maybe it's to a fault, but I get obsessed with it,
Mm-hmm.
and so I don't leave any rock unturned. When I serve discovery, I almost meet and confer on every single discovery response. I almost always file motions to compel, so I'm a very active litigator, and so
Yeah.
that's what really sets me apart from some of these other firms that they may file suits, but they're just kind of going with the flow until they get to a settlement. But I'm working all my cases up to trial.
Yeah. And I mean, that ties right into the same thing with clients. And so when clients are picking firms or picking between firms, what do you think really sets your firm apart from other firms?
I think it's the customer service. I really connect with my clients. I care about them. I care about the outcome. A lot of my clients have direct access to me,
Yeah.
and so that's really what sets me apart.
Yeah. And of course, your amazing experience and everything you've done.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome. So you also took a trip to Turkey, which
yeah.
I thought was for pleasure, but it seems like it was work.
So no, I actually went to Iraq, and it was kind of like a birthright trip to
Oh,
some of the villages, Assyrian villages in Iraq. And so honestly, it was such a beautiful experience. We went to some Assyrian schools and, saw some of the leaders in Iraq that are overseeing what's going on there. So it was a very beautiful
Wow.
experience. And then after that, I went to Turkey, which was more like a vacation type trip, but Iraq was more like a birthright kind of trip.
Yeah. What was it like in it? What was it like there?
It was you kind of it was very humbling
Yeah.
because the people there obviously they don't have like the new car, the new TV, but they just love each other, and so they spend time with each other. Their biggest form of entertainment is talking and conversating and relationships, and we forget about that here. So
Yeah.
I loved it, and everybody there speaks fluent Assyrian. They all read, write. They're all going to school in Assyrian, fully Assyrian school. So it was a very beautiful experience.
Yeah. And you speak and write fully in Assyrian as well?
I speak it
Speak
fluent,
it.
but I don't write, which is, I should definitely improve on. Yeah.
And and what are some of the things that motivated you there? What were some of like the key things that you've seen there that like kind of motivated you? More initiatives that you want to launch in the community?
Yeah. So, I've always been involved in the community here. So, over here, I'm part of the Syrian American National Federation, which is a organization that basically is dedicated to helping raise awareness for Assyrians and help strengthen our community here. And so I've been doing that for the last, 10 years too, really when I was in law school.
Yeah.
And so it puts things into perspective because once you go to, Iraq and see your people from back home and kind of what they're going through, you come back and you tell them what their needs are, what type of experience you have, and different ways to help. So it was very eye-opening.
Nice.
Yeah.
How was it for them having, a successful attorney there, being able to coach, mentor, support? How was all of that?
Yeah, unfortunately there's not a lot of opportunities for them there. It's really actually sad because you'll see Assyrians that have, bachelor's degrees, but they're just working at a call center,
Mm,
and so there's not a lot of opportunities there. But I know for sure it's motivating because they love seeing, Assyrians from the West come visit them because they're learning from them, interacting with them, and they're just such genuine people. So
yeah.
it really was a treat to go there.
And also from the Assyrians I know, they're extremely, extremely motivated, extremely, extremely humble, but also like very entrepreneurial,
Hmm.
go-getters. So I'm sure it's even more difficult to see it all because you know what potential they have and what potential they can do.
Yeah, exactly. And you see a lot of these Assyrians come, from Iraq to the United
Crushing
States,
it.
crushing. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
everyone I know is crushing it.
Yeah. And then you see some Assyrians that grew up here and they're just not doing anything with their life. So it's like, where's the disconnect?
Yeah, yeah. What happens?
Yeah. So, it was for sure a great experience.
Nice. And so whenever, I mean, I know it's not much, but whenever you do take time off your
Mhm.
firm, how do you guys maintain, monitor, and make sure everything's going well?
I'll be honest with you. I always say this. I don't think there's ever such thing as taking time off. But the nice thing about now with technology is that, you're just a phone call away. You can open your laptop and computer, you're already on Wi-Fi and answering. So really, I'm always monitoring. I try to for sure scale it down when I'm out of the office. I tell everybody, hey, I'm available, but, try to exhaust all your resources before you reach out to me.
Yeah,
And so, but I'm always monitoring emails, monitoring calls, and again, you're never taking time off, but
yeah,
you for sure minimize it and kind of control it and connect with people remotely.
yeah. And closing towards the end, what are some of your favorite places to go take time off?
I go to Arizona a lot.
Uh huh.
It's my friends always give me a joke. They're like, "Why don't you just move here already? Because you're always here." So usually when I go, I'll go to Arizona because Scottsdale is like a vacation destination in and
Yeah,
of itself, and I have a lot of family and friends there. So I'll go there, but once a year I like to do a trip to abroad,
yeah.
and so I like to go to different countries. So like I want to go see more countries in Europe, and but yeah, I mean just travel at least once a year.
Nice.
Yeah.
I know you started your firm last year ago. How has LegalSoft's platform and support helped kind of build your firm and the structure that you guys have been setting up?
Well, so you guys have been helping me a lot with social media,
Yeah,
and so that is something that I really struggled with because for me, like posting videos of myself is very cringy. It's like something very new to me, and especially recurring post. And so LegalSoft has really helped me with that. You guys help me with some of the content and come in and record it and edit it, and it's very quick. You guys have a great
nice,
turnaround time. So it's definitely helped me in that respect, which is one of the items that I was for sure needing help with.
nice,
Yeah.
awesome. Before everyone goes, where can they find you?
So you can find me on my website. It's ml-pc.com. You can also find me on Instagram, LinkedIn.
Awesome. We'll have your phone number there as well.
Cool.
We got the thumbs up. Well, so nice having you here.
You too.
We're excited to have you back here. I'm excited to do this again in a year from now. I think we should plan it,
Hmm.
to just see kind of where your firm is going, where it started from, and where it's going. I know tons of firms that I want to start to refer cases to you, just with your practice, your experience, and it's been a pleasure working with you. It's an honor for you to be a client of ours, and excited to see where you guys go.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you guys all so much for joining the Legal Solve podcast. My name is Nathan Sumekh. And if you liked what you guys saw, go ahead and subscribe and like the video. See you guys next time.